What up, what up, what up, what up, crazy people? Welcome to the Black Sheep Perspective. It's your dude, Wes. Once again, I got my little brother, Gus, with me.
What it do?
Gus, you getting ready for that fight, man?
I'm excited for it.
I can't stop talking about it now. I got to keep mentioning it, man. Before I even introduce this fucking awesome guest that I got to keep mentioning that my little brother's going to be fighting in Puerto Rico. I don't even know if I say it like a fucking Puerto Rican.
The land of the Boricua.
Whatever that means. What? And that's going to be on the 25th?
January 25th.
January 25th, man. Listen, if all goes well, Gus is going to be having his pro debut for Combate Americas. So we're all excited about it. So I want to bring that up really quick because we kind of closed the last show with that information. And that shit caught me by surprise. I was like, damn, I didn't know we were going to talk about that. Fucking Yuli just said it out of nowhere. And then,
That's my dog.
Yeah, man. Yeah. He shows so much love, man. But let's show love to our guest today, man. I gotta go G code on this motherfucker right here, man. I got one of Miami's finest artists, as in fine artists / graffiti artists / contempt artists. This man got all kind of skills, and I feel really blessed because he's truly the first, like 100% the first kind of his type to be on the show. I've had fighters, I've had some war veterans, I've had some recovering addicts, I've had some IG models, and I've always been intrigued with artists of all sorts, especially when I'm just so blind to what, really it is and how you guys live and how you guys are and all that. And anyhow, no further ado, man, I got my dude, Disem right here, Disem 305.
Thank you, dog. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the awesome introduction. Appreciate the fuck out of it.
Yeah, man.
Now,
Yeah.
Where does the name Disem come from?
Oh, man. So back in the days, I used to write. So by writing, I mean like graffiti shit. You do graffiti, you say it's writing.
Okay.
So that's what you guys, like, when you guys talk about graffiti, you guys say it's writing?
Yeah, you don't say you do graffiti, you say you write. You got me?
I think graffiti was the I don't know, you tell me, homie, is that was that categorized by the fucking US in regards to when you guys called it writing, they called it graffiti? Or where does that derive from, that term?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
I
bro.
love
But
to
you
learn
know
it.
what?
Hey, you want to look that up
super
for us,
curious
Gus? That's a
about
good way to
that.
start
Yeah,
the fucking show.
great question.
Where does graffiti derive from? Who the
Where's
fuck
that term?
defined that shit?
Yeah, where does that term come from? That's a great fucking question. I know.
But anyhow, but go ahead. So you were
So I grew up out here in Kendall and shit. You know where 152 Ave is at?
okay, yes,
So
of course.
I grew up out there. I used to play basketball like across at Olympic Park and shit. I was a young kid, little afro, you know what I'm saying? So the kids in the neighborhood started calling me Disco. So that was my first tag. I started writing Disco. A couple years went by, caught a little heat, you know what I'm saying? I was doing like a lot of damage and shit. And I think I just outgrew the name. There was like an old school disco in DC, and I was just like, man, I got to change this tag. Between the heat, it felt a little corny at the time, you know what I'm saying? I had no longer had the fro, like it didn't fit. So I was just like, man, fuck it. And I really liked the DIS, the way that the letters flew.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I tried to stick to those letters, and back those days, I was a little bit of a hard head. And so in graffiti, we got rules where you could go over certain things, like you could do a throw up, which a throw up is like bubble letters. You could do bubble letters over a tag. You could do something nicer over a throw up, and then like a mural over like a piece. You got me? So what I started doing was, on my arrogant bullshit as a kid, I started going over like the older guys with nicer shit.
All right, so hold up. Disem, I'm gonna have to pause you for a second because I know all our listeners are like,
What
that
the fuck
motherfucker
is this?
just spoke 17 languages.
Right.
17 languages, because for sure, as you were tossing these terms out, I was like, okay, I know that, but I know, fuck, I'm 42. Most of these people don't know that. Okay, so and I know I missed a couple. Throw up,
So a
tag.
tag is like a regular like just the illegal shit where you just write your name.
Okay,
So
so it's kind of funny how years later that comes back to like some Instagram shit, and what's a tag?
Tag,
Oh,
right,
that's
right.
what represents you. So that was your tag,
right.
okay? And what a throw up is?
It's like bubble letters, so it's kind of like bubble letters.
So it's a certain style of graffiti.
Right.
It's kind of bubbly.
Yeah. So it's called. I mean, most throw ups are bubbly, but not necessarily. I think it's called a throw up because you could just throw it up quickly. You get what I'm saying? Like, so most of the illegal shit you do like that, you just throw it up. So you could do a throw up over a tag, and it's within the rules or whatever. And then you got get ups, which a get up is like a more complex kind of like nicer, more stylized throw up. You could supposedly by the rules, you could go over a throw up with a get up. Then you got pieces with features.
This is great. I've never heard this. So there's like, this is like,
there's unwritten rules of the
yes,
shit.
yeah. So this is like street rules, but they're like wall rules. They're like graffiti rules. So if it's
they apply to certain people, man, because you'll get your ass kicked for doing this wrong shit to some. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it gets real cult you know. That's crazy, dude. I never heard that.
Have you seen it personally where somebody has done that and then they get their ass whooped?
In Miami, fuck it, man. Miami's
that shit was serious, dude.
Miami is, from what I've heard from a lot of guys, this is one of the craziest cities to do graffiti in. Graffiti in the 90s in Miami was like mad gang related. So even though I've never been in like no gang shit, like if you grew up doing graffiti in the 90s, your home
some affiliation
right,
was there.
Right. So yeah, I've seen people get their ass whooped. I mean, I've whooped people's asses for doing shit and vice, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, beef has been caught over that shit.
So let's let people have a little understanding towards that. So what are the rule breakers? What is like? It's not like I got a problem with you because you just do graffiti. No, I got a problem with you to this level because you did this. So what are those rule breakers that gets a certain ass whooping or a blackball or what is how does that go?
I think it's just street shit. You know what I'm saying? If you just carry yourself with respect and you respect everybody around you, then you should be good. You got me? Certain people are fucking, they just think there's no consequences for their actions. And like lately, with this new generation, I think I missed that about the old generation where there were consequences for actions. You got me? Like, because a lot of respect has been lost in the shit. But again, they're all like unwritten rules. Certain people will let certain things slide and other people won't let like the shit slide, you know?
What's one of the biggest rule breakers? I mean, you just don't paint or tag over somebody's shit, right?
I think biggest rule breaker, you go over somebody that's dead.
Ooh,
you know what I'm saying?
That's a whole nother level.
And there's
of that.
people that have done that shit out here, and there's. You know
I never thought of that. See, just that quick, it became even deeper. Okay,
so
wow.
A lot like there's people in this game that I do not respect because they've done that kind of shit. I won't say no names because I don't think any attention is.
They don't deserve it, right? Okay.
But there are people that have done that kind of shit, and that's something that I just can't respect. You know what I mean? Like, because that person can't even fucking, like, stand up for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So, if you can't respect somebody that's no longer with us, then why do you deserve any respect?
I mean, it makes total sense. I'm pretty sure that can be applied in so many different ways in regards to using somebody's name in vain or talking about somebody, whatever it is. But, dude, all this shit is fucking intriguing as fuck. Let's back it up a little bit. First of all, how'd you get into this artistic bit of you? I don't want to say graffitiness because that's an art, you know. And let me be honest with all the listeners, and I think Gus agrees because we were talking about this earlier. We are fucking nimrods when it comes to.
I feel like just the main population of people don't really understand.
I agree, and it's not don't understand graffiti. I'm talking about the levels to art, to being artistic, to being an artist. There's just so many levels to it. So I know we're both gonna be asking questions, and I think we're gonna be speaking for the public when you use certain terminology. But let's back it up. When did you start getting into this artistic realm of, you know, finding yourself, of whether it's graffiti, art, painting? Where did it all start, and how did that come about?
I'm gonna rewind it a little bit because I want to finish this.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
So by those rules, I started, like I said, I was on some arrogant bullshit as a kid, and I started going over guys that were older than me, but by the rules. You got what I'm saying? Like even though. Now that I'm older, I wouldn't want that shit done to me. You got what I'm saying?
Of course.
But so I was going over older guys with like nicer shit, and with the DIS because I wanted to stick to those same letters, and then I was like, you're dissing them, You got what I'm saying? So that's where the tag came from. The diss them. And then for a long time, I was sticking to like diss them all, like diss everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, what a great fucking 360 he just did. I love it. He brought that shit right back around. That's artistry right there, bro. We were gonna lose it, and he brought it back around. That's how Disem came about.
It's catchy.
That's fucking dope. I like that shit.
And the letters are dope, so I love the fucking letters. You know what I'm saying?
So according to your stroke, it just really went with what you do. Those DIS is what you said was the main thing.
Yeah, man. They just flew. I like the way they flowed, so I stuck to that shit.
What did you look up over here, Gus? What are we looking at?
All right, where graffiti derived from. So it came from the Holy Trinity Chapel in Lublin. Camaraderie.
Is that Lublin or Lublin? And I'm literally not being a dick. I'm asking.
Lublin, I don't know.
Okay.
From the Italian word, graffitio. And they scratched it and made graffiti. applied in art history to works of art produced by scratching a design onto a surface.
Oh, that's interesting.
Wow. Ain't that some shit? You see that? You see what the Black Sheep
shit.
Perspective just brought
It derives from Italy.
to the 100 and something subscribers?
I'm Italian too, so I like that shit.
I love
better.
I love to find out where things derive from. I really do, man. It's a thing of mine, you know. There's a lot of terms that we use nowadays from as simple as that's my dog. Where'd that come from? Well, that's a man's best friend, so that's my dog. You know, simple as that. To something like this, man. So that was cool to hear that. Disem, can you please tell us a little bit more about this art skill that came out of you? First of all, what kind of upbringing did you have? Where your parents from? Were you born and raised? You said you were born and raised in Miami. Where your parents from? No.
So I don't like talking about where I was born. You get what I'm saying? Because I was born somewhere else, but I was there like by kind of like a fluke. So I was there for kind of 2 weeks, and then I flew out to Miami.
Okay.
So I never even talk about where I was born because that shit has like there's no
relevance.
Yeah, like I don't feel like I'm from there. I got nothing to do with the place. I was there for 2 weeks not by accident, but just because of like family shit. And then 2 weeks after that, I came to Miami. From Miami, I was here for a couple of months. Went to Panama, and then I grew up in Panama. I'm gonna say I was there for maybe like 3 years. Came out here 2 years. Went back to Panama 3 years. Came back out here till now. You know. So as far as like where I feel I'm from, I'm Italian, Colombian, Panamanian. You know what I mean? Like and Miami is fuck. Like my that's why I got the 305 at the end of my shit. I couldn't be more. I feel like I am Miami. You got me? Like
yeah.
Not as in I am Miami, but as in Miami was built me.
The culture is in you.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not only that, but I also think that you represent it in the way of we're so mixed up over here.
Right.
Where everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but to a certain extent, we're all mixed up, you know, from whatever racist it is. And even if it's not part of your race, the fact that you grew up here, you're influenced by so many races that, you know, when you become a Miamian, you're a whole nother breed,
There's
man.
no 100% pure Miamian, dog, unless you're a Miccosukee or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, other than that, and I think that's what's beautiful about this place, bro, that it's a melting pot. Like,
word, for sure.
Even the way we speak it, like, it sucks, bro, because we go to, like, Latin America, and they're like, oh, you guys are gringos. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then we come out here, and they're like, oh, you guys are all, like, Hispanics. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, we just fit into Miami. We don't fit in nowhere else, bro.
We're some what do they call them, chameleons? We're some chameleons when it comes to everything. But no, I agree with that. And I remember using that term from the work perspective. Sorry to bring work up, but I remember I used to tell these corporate people when they would come around, just with their little ideas and shit about, hey man, we should do this, we should do that, you know, according to this, according to that. And I would be like, listen, this is Miami. Like, we are just a fucking alien breed. Like, you have no idea. Like, even Californians, they're very different from the rest of the world, and so are New Yorkans.
Right.
Miami, man, we got it all up in this bitch. This is as melting pot as it gets, you know? And until you come here and stay here long enough, you just have no idea. So it is what it is, you know? We're not trying to use that against people, but we know it is what it is.
Right.
So anyhow, so your parents, man, I remember you and I, so for people listening, I remember when I got put on to Disem, I was like super intrigued. I said, man, this is the type of guest that I really need. I love guests like this. I went on to his IG page. I was blown away. So really quick, I know we're going to drop it at least 2 or 3 more times. If anybody's interested, your IG page.
Disem 305. That's DISEM 305.
Okay, so when you go there, you're going to see an art style that I don't know how to describe. Gus was looking at it. Ever since I had my I don't know what to call it, man. We got drunk and we ate some nacho chips, but we had a good time. We had a little, you know, let's get to know each other before we get down and dirty with the podcast. And I try to do that with all my guests, man. And it was fun doing that shit with you, you know. And I know there's things that we talked about that we're not going to talk about, but there's so many things that we talked about that I definitely don't want to forget. And one of the biggest things that, you know, I told you, I said, hey, you're one of these first big time like artists that I come across. And I hope when it comes to the podcast, I don't want to dumb down anything, but, you know, help me out and help the people listening out. Okay, what are the levels? We talked about it earlier when you first got here, and we had our little first drink, you know, to smooth things out. Okay, you got some contemporary art, and you said contemporary art is basically of the time.
Right.
Of the era that's going on right now. So, okay, I've never thought about it like that. Makes sense. So you don't, not that you got to see them all because I'm sure there's so many of them. But what are these levels of art and the different types? Like this guy's abstract, this guy's fine, this guy's break it down a little bit for us if you can.
I don't think I'm like the adequate person for that to like, but there are different like I guess boxes that you could put different things into. You know what I'm saying? So you obviously got like your graffiti shit, which is mostly like based off of letters. I mean, as far as like what I do, I could kind of break that down. Like the graffiti thing is based off of like lettering. And honestly, like I don't think you could consider yourself a graffiti writer if you don't do illegal shit. You know what I'm saying? Or have done illegal shit. Like that's kind of like if you want to consider yourself that at some point or another, you had to put in work.
That's like one of part of the criteria to.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't know everybody else. You got me? Like,
doesn't it make a little bit of sense, right? I think it makes total sense, right?
It does make sense.
You got your street artists. Your street artists are like not that. You got me? I got like mutual respect for everybody because I'm sure I could be put into every single one of these boxes. You know. Street artists are more like the people that just go out, do murals. It's more like I guess I would say like the fad right now. You get me? Like it's just the cool thing to do, which kind of fucking sucks because I wish it was like back.
Is that considered commercial or no?
I don't know. If it's no, it's not considered commercial because a lot of people are doing that without getting shit for it. You got me? So, but I do think it's kind of like the trend. To where like a lot of people are doing it because they realize the attention that it's getting and it's not genuine like graffiti used to be. Like graffiti is one of the shits. The hardest things I put my family through have been graffiti, like without a fucking doubt. You know what I mean? Like even with all like my gang homies and all the bullshit, like graffiti is the roughest shit I put my family through. I probably put myself through. So when you do something and it's so genuine to you and it has nothing to do with, I mean, it does have to do with attention because it's kind of like a side attention you're getting off of it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows you're doing it. They just see that name out there. And that's kind of what feeds the fuel, like, dog. And I'm not saying the other people seeing it, but the more you do of it out there, that feeds the fuel. Like, that kind of keeps you going. So when so many people are doing it for, like, the genuine reasons, which is, like, the culture and the people doing it and just us, when nobody knows who the fuck we are. And if anything, we're, like, risking our lives. By risking our freedom, risking all sorts of shit by doing it. And years later, this shit gets, like, all this fucking, like, attention. And now everybody wants to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, of course.
I've seen people talk shit to me like, oh, you're a fucking loser. You're out there painting the street. Fucking 10 years later, they're like, yo, how do I paint a mural? Like, no, fuck you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, of course.
What's going? Like, why you want to do it now?
Yeah, you were bandwagon riding or hating, and now you're bandwagon riding.
So, and again, nothing against, like, street artists, but I would say that the street art movement like has kind of bandwagon like the graffiti shit, which is a very genuine, like, I mean, bro, graffiti is the largest art movement in art history worldwide. This shit isn't happening like the Renaissance movement. That shit was going on in like Italy and like Rome in a small area. You got me?
Right.
Then we had like the fucking the surrealism movement, which was worldwide, but it was only like pockets throughout the world of people. I think due to like the internet and just the humanities, like dog, you cave people were writing on walls. You got me? It's human nature, bro.
Right.
So when you get this human nature and you put it out the way that it's boomed, it's the largest art movement that's ever happened in human history, like in humanity. And it was started by kids, which is fucking dope. You got me? So when you have this art movement that's just sporadically fucking blowing up like that all around the same time, and you got people trying to ride like that bandwagon as far as like the street art shit goes, which is not all of them, but there are a lot of them. It's kind of like a turn off thing to me. You got me?
Does that start some type of I don't know, man, some undisclosed
like beef?
Yeah, I hate to call it that because I don't want to stir up negativity, you know. But
especially in Miami, bro. In Miami, we've had like all sorts of situations where like locals. So even the Wynwood shit, right?
Right. So for anybody listening who might not be from the South Florida region or Miami, Wynwood is pretty much what we would consider a very art district area. Lots of not graffiti, even though there is graffiti, but just lots of amazing fucking art. It's allowed. It's not frowned upon. I don't want to say the county because it's still Dade County, but the city
of Miami,
right? Yeah,
the city of Miami, the city ordinance, they allow it in this district. And man, you see some of the most phenomenal, dopest shit. So when he mentions Wynwood, kind of try to picture that, and then you can catch up with what we're describing. So
It's like
continue
during
on.
art, you don't even have to be a genuine passion for art. During Art Basel, you just walk around and seeing people graffiti on the walls or drawing murals. It's just dope.
But
Yeah,
it's
man.
crazy because, man, kids have gotten killed like previous Art Basels doing graffiti by cops.
Wow,
Out here in
really?
Miami, yeah. So I forgot the kid's name, man, and it sucks that I forgot it. But I know there's a kid that got caught painting not too long ago.
I remember. Didn't he get? Oh, not
Yeah.
the kid who got tased to death. That was like,
That was Reefa.
yeah, and that was several years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it was the same year. A kid was doing illegal graffiti and the cops ran him over. What's crazy is that city of Miami, like Miami police, a couple of months later, not months, maybe a couple of years later, they commissioned the graffiti artist to paint one of their cars.
God damn.
And that car rides around. But at the same time, like, one of us was fucking killed for doing this bullshit. Like, who the fuck is, like, there's murderers out that don't get that kind of justice. And some kid, because he was fucking writing on a wall, got fucking ran over by a cop and killed. You know what I'm saying?
What do you happen to know what happened to that cop or no?
I have no idea. Honestly, I'm pretty sure justice wasn't served, though.
Oh, of course, that's very common. Unfortunately, I'm
the-
not trying to be a cop hater. I'm not
At
that
all,
dude
man.
at all.
There's
But
good ones, there's bad ones.
yeah,
but
yeah, for
like,
sure.
You're always gonna have your good and your bad.
With
Yeah.
the reefer shit, they're still trying to find justice, bro. There's a fucking kid handcuffed and they're tasing him. They're like, how is that
Yeah,
allowed?
there's
You know what I'm
there's
saying?
no explanation.
Kid
behind
got
that.
killed for that shit, bro. But there's murderers out there that get handcuffed and get like the fucking class A treatment for
Right.
some fucked up shit. You know, killers, rapists, all sorts of shit.
It's definitely painful to see when art in some shape or form has any kind of negativity brought upon it, because at the end of the day, I don't know how to say it the best, but I know that art is a form of expression,
Yeah, absolutely.
and it's done in the most respectful way because it's really just coming out of someone's mind, someone's feelings, someone whole. Just I can't speak for an artist, man. We were talking about that art high.
Yeah.
And I remember when we talked about that, I was like, damn, dude, that's dope. I never really heard somebody talk about it like that. That sounded like a biker talking about a biker's high.
Right.
Yeah, which a lot of people don't, or a runner talking about a runner's high. It's just one of those things of, unless you've done it, you don't know it. If you run long enough and it's not hurting your body, you know what you're doing, and you zone out and you get into this whatever, dimension of just tranquility, that's a runner's high. And it's very difficult to describe that you literally, if you've never done drugs in your life, but yet you got into that zone, you felt the high that drug abusers would feel. You felt it naturally on your own from getting into this, zone. And you had described that to me from an artistic standpoint. I thought, man, that's dope. I've never heard someone, I've never gotten to know an artist like this and talked this much. So I remember when you described that, I thought it was really, really, really dope. And unfortunately, man, you guys are a small few. I don't know. I'm not asking you to look it up, Gus, but I don't know what the number is. But if you were to say,
I mean, I feel like they would know. You guys know each other more than like.
Yeah.
but if you had to give a percentage of the world, because if we said artists,
Just like you
right
said,
away,
he
you're gonna
He
be.
hasn't been doing this for 2 years, 3 years. He's been doing this for a while.
Yeah, but you know what? But he feels a certain bias, a certain way towards, okay, well, if I said, how many artists do you think exist in the world? Immediately he's going to start being like, well, okay, hold on. Am I considering the Fugazis, the this, the that, the ones who this, the ones who are trendy, the ones who really, we know they're not really artists, they're just in it to win it for now? He's going to go through this whole process that you and I do not know about or fathom.
If you had a random this is just a question. If you had a random person ask you, like, what type of art do you draw? How would you explain your art?
For a few years, man, I was asked this question. I was like, I have no idea. I just paint. And that's like a battle I explained to you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
we
saying, where,
discussed
like,
that.
I've gone through like my battle of like me being two different people, like me being like the fine artist, me being like the graffiti artist. And like, it was weird because it was like a split
Which one do you
personality
like
thing.
more?
I came to terms that like I don't like either one of them more. It's just who I am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I am both of these people, and the moment that I realized that is the moment that I think like my art really started popping, which was when I was like, I don't have to divide these two things. I could just be me and fucking unite and put it out there. And
But you told me, and I'm sorry to cut you off, and I think this has a big impact. He told me one of the reasons that was not difficult, but it took time to do so, was because he was divided. He was pulled from both sides. Basically, he said that if you did graffiti and you did it hard and you did it as notably as he did, you looked square if you did the fine art. If you did fine art, you're not a graffiti artist. You're a fine art guy. You're somebody who's on a different box, on the different side of the streets, the tracks, the railroad,
right.
whatever the fuck. And he just felt like,
And there was the vice versa of that. You got what I'm saying? Where like the fine artist didn't respect the like
right,
graffiti aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to like figure out like which one of these two things I could like manage and how I could like be successful in one and the other. And until I realized that like there's no reason to fucking divide it. I am who I am and I do both these things and I just united them. That's when shit really started like popping for me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's when I discovered myself as an artist.
Do you think both sides now respect each other, or
I think there's always gonna be an off balance. You always got your
better than
peoples.
before, but probably, not enough.
I think there are a lot more graffiti guys that are understanding like, yo, why not get paid off of the shit that you love doing if we've been putting so much money into it? And by money, I don't mean like the spray paint that we either buy or some. There's a lot of guys that are such hardcore writers that they don't even buy paint. They steal the shit. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, it's not graffiti unless you steal your paint.
Oh.
So you got like real hardcore fucking extremes in this. And I didn't mean the money as far as like the buying paint or any of that shit, but we risk our freedoms doing this shit, bro. Like,
of course.
I paid for lawyers, I paid for bond, I've paid for all sorts of bullshit to deal with this shit, or injuries doing graffiti. Like, yep, like, bro.
because some of those things are high.
Dog.
I've always wondered, like, how do you guys get up there?
Carefully, bro. Really carefully.
They got those fucking.
What's
They got the Batman utility belt, and they throw that goddamn kaboom.
Facts, dog.
What's the longest mural you've painted?
What do you mean as far as like
As in
size or
hours.
how long did it take?
Hours
Me?
or days or?
Bro, there's a wall off of I-95, which back to the Wynwood shit. I don't know if you guys have seen a wall off I-95. It's got a bunch of eyeballs on it with like graffiti. So we did that shit.
I work so much, I haven't gotten out the fucking.
That shit's been there for like,
neighborhood.
I want to say close to 15 years. I might be off. Like, it's between 10 and 15 years that thing's been up. So when we were like a lot younger, we got put on by a homie to like do this huge wall. Back in the days, they wouldn't allow us to paint in like the nice areas. You got me? Especially like Wynwood / Overtown. That's where we were painting, bro. And when we were painting out there, it was like we were painting in the hood. That's one of the few places where they were allow us to paint. So we got a wall out there in Wynwood. And when we got to the wall, man, it was one of the biggest walls we had seen. And we thought we were just gonna go paint for fun, like one day. And we're like, this is gonna be a process, bro.
Yeah.
And I remember we started the wall. We did it with like, I was in a crew back in the days, and we did it with those homies. And Aho, who that's one of my best friends.
You guys heard it right. He said Aho.
Yeah. Like, I love that guy. He ended up doing the background on it because we tried doing some other shit. It got too complicated. I want to say that was one of the first or second walls he had done the eyeballs on. And it just so happened that it belonged to one of the biggest contemporary art collections in the U.S., I want to say.
Wow,
But we weren't aware of that as kids. We were just like, we're painting a building. We didn't know what was inside the place. So the place ended up belonging to this guy, Martin Margulies, who's, bro, like, real estate mogul, contemporary art collector. Like, this guy owns, like, fucking some of the most expensive pieces. And the city hit him up because the shit was, like, right off I-95. And they were like, you got to paint over this shit. Or you're going to get fined.
What's up, crazy world? You got to be a little loose upstairs if you're following us. But if you're not following us, what the hell are you waiting for? Listen, go ahead, stop what you're doing, pause. You can come right back to this. I want you to subscribe, go to YouTube. I want you to go to iTunes. I want you to go to SoundCloud. I want you to just find any platform that we're on. Follow, listen, show your love and support. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Let's get back to the podcast.
So, yeah, we didn't realize the place we were painting ended up being like one of the largest contemporary art collections in like the U.S., possibly the world. I'm not sure.
Sounds like a real big deal in regard to a violation.
We had no idea, and this guy got hit up with like a fine for having the mural on the place because City of Miami thought that or I don't know if it was City of Miami, Miami-Dade County. Honestly, I don't know who it was, but at that time period, they were fining businesses for having murals on them because it was considered a sign. So they told this guy that he either had to get it painted over, or he was gonna pay a fine, I believe, of like $500 a day. I think that's what it is.
Ooh, my
$500.
goodness.
Dang, Jesus.
Fuck.
He decided to take this thing to court and say that that was part of his art collection. So, because he had the money to back it, you know what I'm saying? So he went and he backed it, and he ended up winning the case. So it's crazy because if you drive down 95, the only spot, like once you get to that Wynwood area, that has trees off of 95 is covering our mural. Because since the city couldn't go over it, they were like, all right, we'll just cover it because supposedly graffiti scared like tourism or scared people. They covered it with trees. And I'm not 100% positive on this, but I've been told this shit that due to him winning that case was the boom of like the murals happening in like the Wynwood area and all that shit.
Okay.
Damn.
Because after that point, then it was just up for grabs. You know what I'm saying? Like, so those are the spots how we started painting, man. And that wall, I would say, it was back to your question. It was one of the largest murals, probably one of the ones that took us the longest, because it was such a big wall.
When was that time frame? Do you remember?
I want to say
roughly.
More or less 15 years ago.
Holy shit. Okay.
So,
What about that one in Panama you did?
that
The Two-Face.
oh it was two
Women.
Yeah, so I did the one on the left in Burrell. That was I want to say 3 years ago. 3 years ago, possibly, yeah.
How long did
My
it take
homeboy
you?
Dreps did the one on the right. Took me around 3 days. Bullshitting, we're like sharing a ladder. You got what I'm saying? So, we between sharing a ladder and like just hanging, like when we paint, man, we have a good time, you know. So on and off 3 days, more or less.
Wow.
I recorded.
But then back to the, I was going somewhere with the, what's it called, with the Margulies thing, the Wynwood thing.
Well, was it from the well, you had asked me in regards to the
So
longest.
how long it took us, man. So yeah, bro, that wall, because of the time frame we did it at, and back how like shit was back in those days, honestly, like we were pretty young, so we didn't have money like that. We funded the whole wall ourselves. Like nobody paid us for anything, and it started out like my father had a ladder, so my dad would lend me the ladder. But that shit was Overtown, and getting a ladder in and out, or Wynwood, or whatever,
Right.
whatever area it wasn't a good area at that time.
Right.
So we'd be out there painting. We'd be hearing gunshots going off the whole night. Bro, crackheads would take our ladders. Like, we bought scaffolds and shit we got taken. It got to the point where we started stealing shit to get our wall done. You got what I'm saying? Because we just got tired of spending money on it. So we're just like, all right, fuck it. Let's go to construction sites, take a ladder.
And that was the weird norm of artists and what they had to go through. I mean, you had some who didn't care to buy anything, but that was part of that.
With that shit, yeah, man. With that one in particular, that was one of those situations where just like we were fed up of our shit getting stolen all the time because of where it was. You got me? We're fed up of like the shit, so we just had to start taking shit to get our wall done. I don't think a lot of people know that, like the shit that we had to go through to finish the shit, or the funding that went into like finishing that shit. You know, people see like the pretty wall at the end of the day, but they don't know that, like, dog, that wall was a lot of fucking work, man.
So I had hinted towards earlier in regards to your influences. I know because, you know, we had that time when we went to the bar and we were getting to know each other. Your parents, they're both artists, different artists,
Right?
but they're both artists. You actually went to an art school, but the crazy part, and please correct me, sweep it up, you know, whatever it is that I'm fucking up. The art school, even though it played a role, it was not the role that most people would think. You told me one of the biggest impacts was this one teacher and what he taught you, but you can get to that naturally. Tell us a little bit about your parents and what route they went with the art, you know, and then how that kind of influenced you, and then where you went with the art.
So my mother's, both of my parents are like my biggest influences, but they're very different. My mom's more like on the art side. My dad's more on like the builder side. My mom's without a doubt one of the most talented artists I know, but she's like she was a frustrated artist, you know. She was one of these people that like never wanted me to go into art because she thought it was like something hard to like live off of.
Right.
And they ended up meeting.
Would you say that it is though?
Honestly, I don't think it is, man.
If you put the masses, not the masses, but the amount of average artists, unless you stand out like yourself or others, and no matter what the level is, if there's 100,000 artists in the world, low number, how many of them are being successful enough where, hey man, you guys can all make it if you have enough skill? Like, Whoa.
There was some shit I read where it said like, for you to be a successful artist, you got to look at it like this is your career, and your career can't wait on inspiration. You got a lot of these artists that like, I can't do shit because I'm not inspired. You got me? And it's some shit I tell my mother all the time. Like, you can't, as an artist, you can't wait for inspiration, especially if you want to do this shit for a living. You got to understand this is a job, and you got to be on this shit all the fucking time. And my bad, I curse a lot. I don't know if that's an
Give
issue
a
or
fuck, fuck, pussy, shit, fuck yourself, whatever the fuck.
So
Are you okay with that, Gus?
We're gonna edit that last unnecessary cursing out.
Gus, you're gonna go to church on Sunday, and all this is gonna be forgiven.
Thursday.
Continue on Thursday.
So, yeah, man. So with that being said, I don't think it's that hard to make it as an artist. I just think you got to be dedicated to it. You know what I'm saying? What we were talking about earlier, like when preparation meets opportunity, I'm like super aware of that shit. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like I've been preparing myself for a long time, and now that I've realized that kind of shit, that as long as you stay on your job, you get it. Man, I think I'd be doing a lot better if I would realize that like at a younger age. But
Did your parents kind of have a hint or know? You know, they might have known whether you knew they knew or you didn't, but you thought it. You know, you had a hint that they might have known. Did they know you were into the graffiti part outside
absolutely,
of?
Yeah, man. Like, bro, I remember my parents getting into fights when I was in like high school and shit. Getting home, like talking about, oh, did you see what your son did on the highway, blah, blah, blah. And my mom being like, that's not my son, that's your son. You know what I'm saying? Like, bullshit.
Until you put some dope ass art. That's it. That's mine.
Now
you
you
go.
want to be proud of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
How old are your parents? Are your parents older? Or
Nah, they're young. They're real young. Like, that's why, man, I got a great relationship with them. Like, those are like some of my best friends, you know?
That's awesome, dude. Cheers to that, man. My dad's not with me no more, but my mom, she's my best friend, and I love to hear that type of stuff. I know that Gus has an amazing relationship with his parents, especially with his dad. Nothing against his mom. He loves his mom to death, but I know that he has.
Boy, but
he has this great relationship with his dad.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that's good, man. Anybody out there listening, hey, man, we know that you know, everybody goes through differences with whoever. Could be, you know, brother, sister, cousins, or could be your parents. And you might be at fault, they might be at fault. Hopefully you can get past that. But it's great to hear when you got an awesome relationship with your parents, especially when you have it as, you know, to that level that we're discussing in regards to, you know, being your best friends, because they're also going to be your hardest critics.
Yeah.
They're also going to be your biggest influences. You know, when somebody's that close to you and you put them on this pedestal, which very few people should ever get put on the pedestal, that's awesome. So, but it speaks volumes. So anyhow, so as artists, they played a certain influence in you. And when did the whole school aspect come? Where'd that take you? And then kind of tell the people listening as to the, you know, because I thought it was awesome how you said, like, dude, that school wasn't shit, and the main thing that I learned was from one dude, and I was like, what? You know, and I like to hear that. Go ahead.
So I pretty much grew up in an art school. Like, my parents met at an art university that was like owned by my uncle. My mother was a student. My dad was just there because his brother owned it, and so I pretty much grew up in an art school as a little kid running the hallways and shit.
Okay.
That was Ganixa in Panama. And then from there, like, we moved out here. I was always into art, like, throughout my whole life. I've been, you know, from drawing Ninja Turtles to drawing bullshit, just my whole life drawing. And then once I got to college, like, same shit, you know, I was just like, man, what I want to do for the rest of my life? I want to do art. My mother was like, yo, there's no way in hell you're going to do art. Like, this shit's a mission. It's not easy. Mad frustrated artist. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll study graphic design, whatever. Because as far as she was concerned, like, a fine artist just wasn't an option. And honestly, I went to school not because I wanted to go to school, but to make the family happy and shit.
Okay.
And, bro, when I found my teachers competing with me more than they were teaching me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't learn shit. The only person that I learned something from in that school, there was two guys. One of the guys, I don't remember his name. Nah, I'm bullshitting. There's three people. This lady, Ana Burrell, she was a photographer, man. Like, I don't even do photography. She just taught me so much about composition.
Okay.
And this guy, Rocco, who was like, man, that guy had to be
Rocco Ware?
Yeah,
like the clothes
Rocco Ware,
okay.
Something like that. He must have been in his 90s. He was a typography teacher, professor.
Damn, so he's probably dead. He probably can't even hear this.
Yeah,
Damn, that sucks.
I mean,
okay.
Hopefully he's alive, you know what I'm saying? But it's unlikely. He was a very old guy. And he was one of these like old school graphic designers that I think like had that's one of those careers that had a complete turn once technology turned. You get what I'm saying? Because you went from like hand designing shit to now computers are around, and now you got to do everything by computers.
Right.
So the way he taught us was by doing like typography is like the study of lettering, you know, the art of lettering, and he had us do all the shit by hand. So he wanted shit to look typed, but you had to do it by hand. And he was like, yo, this guy grabbed the magnifying glass and was like, this line is off, this shit is off.
Oh,
like, he was on that shit. And I failed that class twice. Yeah, I failed that class twice. And it was still like, bro, the illest professor I ever had. Like, I learned so much from that shit. And from a graffiti aspect, my whole shit was letters. So this guy was teaching us like the fundamentals of letters, from like how like illuminated manuscripts, like, which is like what the monks were doing when writing Bibles, you got me? And I was just like, man, I'm gonna take this shit to the street. And I started grabbing what that guy was teaching me, and I started doing that shit illegally in the street. So I was doing like font type lettering, like illegally on the street for a while. I did that shit maybe for like 3 years. And I don't think my homeboys realized what I was doing. I was just like, no, we're gonna hit the spot. We're gonna do it like this. Like, I'll draw out the letters, you guys just fill in, whatever. And they were like, why are we doing like computer type shit? And I was like, dog, like, it's dope. Let's just get it. You got me?
Right.
And yeah, man, that guy was definitely a huge influence on me. He probably has no fucking idea what a big influence he was on me, but 100. Other than that, man, school wasn't shit. It was a waste of fucking money.
You know, some of the best, I don't want to say teachers, but you know, in retrospect, they are teachers, whether it's instructors, guiders, whatever you want to call them. They either know that they have a big impact on people, but kind of like what we were talking about it off camera before we ever started the podcast was you know, some people don't, like ourselves, not Gus. we don't like the attention. We're not trying to get praise. We're not trying to, you know, hey man, I did that. You know, that was me.
I'm not trying to do that. Fuck out of here. You're putting me on that.
All right. Say that for another podcast. By the way, I got all kind of great ideas we got to talk about later. But you know, there's people who are like that, and you know, I would assume that professor of yours, he probably comes across so many youngsters, so many 20-something-year-olds who think this, think that, probably this, probably that. And he's just like, hey man, if you get it, you get it. You know, whatever I'm throwing at you. If you don't, cool too. You're not in the wrong. But this is what I'm doing. And though he's, you know, probably not with us anymore, and even if he was, he might not even know unless you told him.
I'm sure that guy has no idea who I am, bro. He probably don't remember me.
Exactly. And he probably doesn't even know the impact that he had with that simple shit that he might have been teaching. But, you know, everybody retains things differently, and where you were at with life and how you caught that. Because you, and I'm saying it real fucking disrespectfully, you shitted on everything else. But those 2 or 3 people, you know, they were the real deal, you know. So, you know, that has an impact on you that you won't forget. And that's why, you know, that's why your name dropping them now. So when you were done with that college aspect, regardless of the impact that it had to you, I'm going to assume you were about, what, 23-ish, somewhere around there?
Around there, yeah, 25, 23.
Now, by now, you've done the graffiti part, we'll call it that, you know, for a good amount of time. And it's not that you're supposed to grow out of that, because that's an art all on its own. Right. But you kind of finding this middle zone now. So you have this graffiti dope-ass art skills to yourselves, but your parents have influenced you to develop in a different way to an extent. The school takes you where it does, not the biggest deal, but then you have 2 or 3 people who impact you. What comes next? You know, I remember we spoke and you mentioned, you know, you opened up a barbershop, which was great, and that's not the biggest focus, but that helped you achieve a certain amount of income where you can now journey more into your art. Because if you were a struggling artist, which is the term that you hear very often, what seems like your mom was afraid of, I don't want you to be a struggling artist, you actually were smart enough to open up. You saw an opportunity in Coconut Grove, which is an area in Miami that he took advantage, that he just saw an opportunity. Hey, they don't have a barbershop, and this makes sense. Right. And we spoke about that. You did it. Great. That shit's a nice little, you know, paycheck on the side. Then what happened with art after that?
You know what's crazy? I've never realized it till right now that you said that. The whole like career shit and going to school thing. It wasn't until we had this conversation that I realized that my going to school influenced more my graffiti shit, the illegal aspect of the shit, than like the professional shit.
Ain't that some shit?
It wasn't until right now that you put those 2 things together.
Wow.
Dog, because what I got from that was a better understanding of lettering, and from like a better understanding of lettering, my perspective at the time, I just clicked it with graffiti. That shit, the impact my going to school had to do with my professional life, like, was fucking very minor. That's crazy that this conversation just fucking brought that around.
Motherfucking universe.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope.
Can you like hit a button that just goes? Wah, 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 wah? We don't have it, bro. Can we work on that?
He was looking for it though.
I know with the way this nigga writes, I can't read shit there.
Wow, dog. As much effort as I put into that.
I want to grab a camera so they could see what you wrote there for another one.
You're a fucking ingrate, and I want to reach out to the people who don't know Spanish and so they can understand that means an ungrateful motherfucker. Disem. So we got this far now, man. So I remember that Gus was talking about the Panama movement that you did earlier. Let's back it up a little bit. So you got the barbershop. You have this developmental phase that you have in regards to your not new artistic style, but
the barbershop shit was like huge to me because I was very aware that for me to do what I wanted to do for a living,
freedom, the liberty.
Right, I needed freedom, liberty, and I read some shit somewhere, man, where like the average millionaire has at least 7 different sources of income. You know what I'm saying? That shit like just stuck in my brain, and I was like, man, well, I need some like passive source of income. You got what I'm saying? And that's where like the barbershop shit came in, you know. And it's definitely a big part of my life, man. Like I've built relationships that are like life lasting through. So
some crazy way your artistic goals made you zone in on the entrepreneur part of, hey man,
I don't man, it's weird because like a lot of people like relate artistry to painting or to creating.
Yeah, but very true.
I just think it's the creative aspect of it. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So when you guys were talking about it earlier, like what's the percentage of like artists in this world? I would say it's a lot higher than any of us could imagine. But I think it gets put on the back burner by a lot of like our misconceptions or thoughts of what a life is supposed to be like. You got what I'm saying?
Of course.
So
could it also be because of the pressures of society, you know, with fucking, working at 9 to 5 and all that?
So I got ADD like a motherfucker. It's crazy that I could sit down. Like right now that I'm pretty engaged in this conversation. I told you last time.
That's dope.
Man, like I haven't grabbed my phone out once. I got really bad fucking ADD. So the fact that I can sit down with you guys, it means that you guys are doing some dope shit. Cause
awesome,
I don't usually carry a conversation this well without even like noticing my phone. So I got terrible fucking ADD, and when I don't got HDD, like I'm not like hyper,
right?
But I do have like attention deficit disorder, really fucking bad. And when I see like these fucking parents are giving their kids shit to like get them to focus on something or nothing, I just think it's like killing creativity. So I think there's a lot of like real creative people out there that like they don't even have the chance to like explore that creativity because of what a school setting should be, and they got to be sitting down on a desk and they can't be doing this and that. You got me? So I do think that the percentage of artists is really fucking high in this world, but I don't think we give it the importance as a society that we should be giving to creativity. And again, it's creativity, not just fucking painting or whatever, you know?
Is there a certain movement that needs to be done to help bring that up, I don't know, to the limelight?
I want to say some asshole shit, but I don't know.
Say it.
It's better fucking parenting,
the black sheep
bro.
perspective.
Better parenting, bro. You got me? Like, if you fucking, you sit down and you pay attention to your kids and their wants and their fucking needs. You know what I'm saying? Like, instead of handing them an iPad or giving them some pills.
Makes so much sense, bro.
You got me? I think as a society we'd be in a way fucking better place, man. And again, this is a long conversation that I'd rather not go into, but I think just a long.
So that's more on a personal level. You want to focus that real quick? So that's more on a personal level of it makes you. I don't know. I guess politics come out because if you speak a certain way in regards to like, hey, parents should be doing this more often in order to expose the artistic abilities in somebody, the creativity. I don't think that anybody has to look at it from an artistic standpoint. I think maybe you didn't. Maybe you just said creativity, and when I hear creativity, I think artists. Right. But yeah, the creative part of people developing into their creative side is beyond tainted, if not stripped away, by the temptations, the influences, the opportunities they have to go into social media, into technology, into the pressures of society. I don't know, but definitely that taints. Hey, I just want to think freely with this, and it doesn't come out because of everything else.
I think it's kind of like sets what's this shit called the progress of humanity at a standstill. You got me? Because we're so concerned with like having a 9 to 5, having a fucking office job, having this, having that, that we don't. It's kind of like a vicious cycle of this bullshit where we don't allow people to like grow into who they potentially could be because of these standards that we set for life. You got me?
Of course.
I think once we could kind of like put that aside, as a society, we would be in a fucking way better place, you know. And but there's again, we could go into politics, we could go into a whole lot like fucking snowball of this bullshit of what reason, like my reasoning behind all this shit, you know. We go into as deep as like what minimum wage is in this fucking country and why we can't, which is fucking super out of like, you know what I'm saying?
It is, but it's not, of course.
At the end of the day, like it takes 2 parents working to hold down a household in this country for the most part if you're like lower class. You got me? So
100%.
how do you raise a kid like with full attention if
So-
both
so-
those
so
parents
it-
got to deal with that shit?
Is it safe to say that you're basically saying, without going into details, yes, there's a lot that can be done, but when there's so much pressure, such an overhead placed upon parents, it's very difficult for parents, especially this young generation of parents, to help bring out the creativity in their kid when they're so fucking overwhelmed with whatever it is that political bullshit is putting them through, from the poverty to the the strenuous, stressed out, way of 9 to 5 ish and all that other nonsense, and it doesn't allow people to develop, much less kids, much less creativity.
Yeah. It just doesn't become not that it's impossible for it, but it doesn't become like it's just like a very side thing to allow kids to
Right.
grow into that shit, you know, when it should be a priority, bro. Like all it takes, like look at Elon Musk, you know what I'm saying? Like that guy's
Great example.
a creative motherfucker. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. He might be as smart as he is, but none of that fucking like, yo, I've met people that are fucking extremely book smart, but if there's no creativity behind that like knowledge, there's no progress in that. If you develop a kid's creativity, then you got all the you got unlimited possibilities in that. You got me? To me, creativity is way more important than like book smart shit. You got me? Because what good is knowing 2 + 2 is 4 if you can't apply that to some creative shit? You got me? To build in something else.
So you because of these type of feelings that you're kind of hinting towards, you've done some movements, you've made some moves, and again, Gus talked about it earlier. Elaborate a little bit on the Panama mural movement that you've done, and one, for what you did, it was a huge deal. You went to Panama, you kind of went to the no man's land of a zone, which divided not the upper class, but the next class
Right.
of society in Panamanians, to the gangs, to the slums, to the hoods. And there was a no man's land that, if I remember correctly, abandoned buildings, kind of a ghetto, kind of a whatever, ruins,
Yeah.
and they didn't cross this way. Gang members affiliate some this way, then they cross that way, and you guys did a mural there. What brought that about, to you guys to make that movement as to like, hey, this can make something happen. This can be a movement to make things, go a different, route.
So the Indians that Gus was talking about with we painted when my homeboy drops the Embera and the Guna. When we were painting that, we realized we're kind of like at a cross path where cops were even telling like locals like, don't cross the street, or we're not responsible for what happens once you cross that street. And we just happened to be on the other side of the street, and there was a club, like, man, the other side of the street was like popping. That shit was best club in Panama, like, like most attractive people, paid people pulling up in like beautiful cars. But the other side of the street was the hood. As a matter of fact, one of the kids that was like helping us out the whole day slept with his father in a parking lot, in like right across from where we're painting, and the little homie like helped us out the whole time and shit.
Wow.
So when we saw that by the end of the week, or not even, like, we went from the cops telling us, like, yo, if you guys cross over that side, we're not responsible for you, to painting the other side, because that's where our wall was at, to a week later, the cops having to move further down because so many people were coming down to see the mural that the cops are just, like, forced to move further down in the street. So when we saw the impact we had in, like, a week's matter, we're just like, fuck it, we got to do something bigger than this. And thanks to Miami and, like, the connections we've had due to, like, Art Basel and, like, out-of-towners coming in, we've built, like, a ridiculous network of friendships and, like, artists out here, which is a blessing to have here.
That's dope, man.
We're like,
that's dope.
Yo, let's hit up the homies from, like, all over the place, and let's do a mural festival here. And we ended up making it happen, bro. We accomplished in a matter. So we had done that, I believe, 3 years ago. And this year, we did the first Panama Mural Festival, me and my homeboy Dreps, which was insane, bro, because we thought we're kind of like both, we do a lot of shit, but we needed a team for that shit, and we just did it us two. So it was crazy. But we ended up bringing out around 20-something different artists from all over the world. We accomplished over 30 murals in a week. And we did this shit in a place where, like, we weren't aware of it just because, like I said, we've been painting in the hood for a long time out here. So you could stick me in the middle of the worst hood in the world, and I'm comfortable just because, like, at the end of the day, we're all human. And
right.
If you carry yourself in a respectful way and you respect those around you, you'll be respected the same way.
You're not a threat. You're not trying to outdo somebody. You're just there neutrally and bringing peace.
Right. So, and little did we know, man, we found out later we made friends with, like, the most notorious gangsters in the city. And these guys were taking care of us the same way that we made friends with, like, politicians in the city. You got me? And we went in from
same type of gangsters, man. They're gangsters on different sides.
Some of them, yeah. Some are really, and at the same time, some of those gangsters are really good humans that are just stuck in this situation. And they got to, like, make it happen. So we went from, like, that perspective, bro, from literally walking into, like, state offices and, like, talking to politicians to, like, shaking hands with gangsters on the other side and being like, yo, we're just trying to do something nice. And the gangsters being like, if you need anything here, whatever it is, I don't care if you need water, electricity, whatever the fuck you need, we got it for you. You got me? Some of those gangsters helped out more than politicians, honestly.
Wow.
So, and we made this project happen, and man, I mean, it took about a year's work, but the final product with the murals, in a week, we made around damn near 30 murals. But when I'm talking about, like, 30 murals, some of these murals were 6 stories high. Wow. And we brought like artists from all over the world, man. We had a huge impact on the city.
You even
all these white hairs I got are from that shit, man.
you even told me during our chill session that you had a certain cap to invite certain artists,
right?
And based upon sponsorships. And I hope anybody there listening, please get ready to fucking sponsor, get ready to help out. Disem's gonna have all kind of sites that you can go to and everything else later on. But you had sponsorships, you had help, and even then you ran out of money. And a lot of people were inquiring. A lot of artists were like, "Yo, how can I get down?" And you were like, "Hey, man, our cap is this, and we already got to that cap." And yet still,
I lost money on that, man. Honestly, it wasn't. I don't see it as losing money. It was an investment to build something bigger and better. You got me? Because I know we had an impact on the city. But as far as, like, personal business shit goes, like, man, I lost mad opportunities artistically, like, myself, I got hit up by the Marlins to do a project, and I couldn't do it.
Oh, that's right.
There.
You told me that. Yeah,
but,
that's right.
But at the end of the day, man, it was worth it, man. And to see the impact we had, and, like, we had one of the kids that was coming out every day to help us out. We got him a scholarship at, like, the art university, you know what I'm saying? Because he was just out there daily, like, grinding. We're just like, we got to do something for this little homie. We brought him out. We got him a scholarship at the school.
That's dope, man.
So, I mean, I don't see none of it as a loss, but the only thing I see as a loss was the fucking stress that we went through putting that shit together. But it was a beautiful thing, man.
You can always get a little bit of hair dye, bro. Yeah, it's not that many grades.
Possible.
Amazing.
Yo, but but for real though, man, like I don't think that there's enough people out there who know that artists do these type of things. What's going on, beautiful people? Just want to take a moment to thank everyone out there for tuning in. We continue getting so much love and support and appreciate every bit of it. But on that note, if you're a new listener or simply someone who's interested in following our journey, please take a second to subscribe to our channel or download whatever necessary app in order to never miss a show. Also, why not give us a follow on Instagram at BlackSheep305 and at Gus Villamil. Again, we truly appreciate all the love and support and look forward to continuously giving everyone listening a different perspective. Now let's get back to the podcast.
I was going to ask a question because I always like hearing it from somebody else's perspective, especially when it comes to their life. What do you think art has done for you personally? You think it's molded you to what you've been?
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
How you act, how you react.
Yeah. Every aspect of my life. I feel like an artist. You know what I'm saying? It's weird because for a long time people would
what's the attitude you feel like how do you hold yourself up?
My attitude's Miami as fuck. You get me? Like I can't say I'm like, and that's.
Is that a weird question for you though? Because I feel like I'm on his boat because like we're, oblivious to artists and the levels of artistry. So I love that question.
I'd be interested in knowing what you guys that barely know me, like how you can take my art.
I always see somebody who does art as a genius, somebody who's that artistic and able to throw down a pen or a pencil and do something even like that on the wall so quick and easy. To me, that's genius. That's like you have to be so smart, so articulate, so defined to do something like that. Because I practice and taking art classes and I never will be able to do that.
So here's and I explained. Remember I told you about the genius thing?
Yes, exactly. So
here's a different thing. Like, and it's dope that you see it that way.
Yeah.
But I did judo for a long time, so I could relate to like the fighting shit. You know what I'm saying? I boxed for a little bit. But who's not to say that you're a genius at what you do? Your time of like reaction to shit is a lot quicker than most humans are. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you're a genius at what you do. And what I was talking to Wes about was like, I got a homeboy. He's one of my favorite photographers. This guy B. Gats from Cleveland.
Yeah.
And he put me down with some shit. I don't know how real this is. I'm just sharing a story he told me about like what a genius is. So supposedly back in the days, it was a lot of responsibility for somebody to take accountability for their creations. So they wouldn't say it was them that did it. They would say it was like my genius. So they had like a genie, which I believe that's where the genie thing came from. It was my genius. So an artist wasn't responsible for his actions. It was his genie or his genius. And so if he was having a bad day, it's an easy way to put off you having a bad day. Like, oh, I just sucked today. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, my fucking genius sucks today. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the term genius like came from. Like, eventually it just went from like you having this like outside figure creating through you to you being that figure. Which I think a lot of artists could relate to, because I've spoken to several artists where like, man, a lot of times I'm on autopilot. I have no fucking idea how things get done. Like, I'm stuck at a moment. I keep creating, and that shit just, next thing I know is done. And I'm sure, like, as a fighter, you guys go into these autopilot moments where you're not sure.
I remember you told me that. And we were like 3 drinks in, and I was like, man, I don't know if it's the buzz or if he really meant that. But that's dope, because I thought about runner's high. I thought about the adrenaline rush that we go through when we fight. People ask us, like, it makes no sense what you do. You're willing to go in there and get beat up and this and that. And it's a weird, inexplicable high.
Right. I've been in like fights where I don't know how shit gets done. It gets done, and next thing I know, it's insane, like reaction time. You got what I'm saying? You just get that moment and it happens. And like, how do you explain that? Like, were you really like, was there a thought process where you were like, I see an opening, I took that swing, and it just clicked? Like,
right. Or was it natural, just
reaction,
boom?
Bro,
right.
You got me? Like,
and you can compare that to some of the art that you put up on.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say something like that. And maybe it's because people haven't, or artists haven't had the platform to speak openly about that. But Dan, that's a dope question, because I know that goes into the average person's mind. Like, where do you come up with this? How does it all happen? And when it does happen, are you thinking? Are you in there, or you're not in there?
Autopilot a lot of times, man. At least for me, you got me. And it's dope that you guys do what you do, because I think you can relate to that autopilot moment. You got what I'm saying? I think muscle memory. I don't even know.
Yeah. You fucking nailed it. You're right. Muscle memory.
But it's not even muscle memory.
No, for us it is though. That's a great.
Not all the time, man. Because sometimes you just see that it just clicks, bro. Where like it's one of those moments where you're not even aware how you.
It's true.
That
it's
happen.
such a split second. Your reaction that I guess scientists would say it is muscle memory, but there is an actual conscience.
There's an outside source.
Yeah, there's something there like, I saw it coming. I saw it coming. Right, right. Unfortunately for Gus, he always sees it above him. But whatever, he sees it coming, you know, right? I mean,
At least I can still see it. A couple
oh,
of years. You'll
goodness,
have
man. I got
cataracts.
LASIK surgery, fucker. So,
I give it 2 years to have cataracts.
oh, man. I'll smoke enough weed to fix that. How about that, bro? How about that? Shout out to that white girl on fucking
You're old.
on Dr. Phil's show.
Old.
How about that? Diss him. You see that? We need to diss this motherfucker with the shit he talks. But hey, honestly though, so you done some big movements with the Panama Mural thing.
And if I dog, I would love to shout out some homies that.
Man, I want you to. Of course
Dog,
you need to. You better.
That Panama shit would have never happened if it wasn't for like the relationships we built, like thanks to Miami. You know what I'm saying? That's why I got Miami tattooed on me. I love this fucking place.
That's dope.
Dog, SK 545.
But shoot them out on Instagram if you know it. That way, at least people can follow them. Maybe.
I think SK 545. That's his IG.
Okay.
A-hole Sniffs Glue, Drepsta, Musa from Spain, Harry Bones from Spain.
This guy's fucking saying words no one can spell, bro, except for Harry Bones.
Harry Bones? Nah,
he's the only one. Musa, yeah. Spell Musa. Go ahead.
MUSA. Yeah. Musa's the truth.
He's
man.
just.
These are names. You got what I'm saying?
No. Wes, see, he didn't pass middle school, so it's kind of hard.
Dog, you guys are cold, man.
Go ahead.
Sultan from like Denmark, the homie Don Rymix from Puerto Rico. We had Tragic from out here, Miami. Man, Panamanian homies like Caso Tres, Insano, this girl Eva De out there, man. She looked out like a motherfucker. Just mad people out there that just made the shit happen. You got me? And I know I'm missing people, but there's a lot of names. Like I said, there's 20-something artists that Hoax, New York. There's a lot of guys, man.
So that was all recent. So I know there's no pressure because you felt a lot of pressure and you told me some inside information that's like, man, that shit took aside from the gray hairs, that shit took a toll. You told me you went over there thinking it was going to be 3 months.
Right.
And it was almost a year. It was 8 months. It was six. It was 6 rough months, right. Back and forth, this and that. But you did see the success. When I say the success, I don't mean financially because that was the complete opposite. Right. But you saw the impact.
Absolutely.
And that's way more successful. That holds way more value than money. And I mean, some people might disagree.
Me, bro. Money ain't shit to me.
Good. That's good to hear, man. So what's next though, dude? Because you saw the impact that had, and you consistently keep getting more followers. You consistently keep getting, a bigger fame, especially in the South Florida, Miami region. And I just know I'm gonna look back on one of these fucking. This is gonna be like a baseball card to me. I'm gonna be like, yeah, man, Disem was here. How many of y'all want to pay for this clip? I got this clip, and I can break that shit up in different clips. What's next, dude? What are you aiming for? What's literally like, down the line that you kind of got scheduled? What's something that you're aiming for in regards to like, yo, this is one of those bigger pictures, and let the people know, man.
I definitely want to. We're gonna follow up next year, not this year, with the Panama Mural Fest, the second one.
Okay.
And then on a personal note, man, just working towards like my own work. Having my first solo show. I've never had a solo show. As far as like art goes for myself.
And what would a solo show entail? Like at a gallery or some sort?
Yeah, at a gallery. Not necessarily a gallery, man. I've been debating on that because with galleries, I don't know, man. I want it to be like some Miami shit. My first solo show has got to be in Miami, and I think a gallery might like
taint it a little bit.
Not tainted. I'm for it. I just want to be in like. If it's a gallery that's down to have some Miami shit happen, you know what I'm saying? Like, and by Miami,
it's got to meet you in the middle.
No, it's not a compromise. I just need some like if I'm gonna have a solo show, it's got to be some Miami shit. And if it's some Miami shit, then I need to have like Miami culture, and by that I mean like Miami bass, like Miami DJs, Miami car culture, Miami fighters, just Miami shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
love it.
And maybe not all galleries.
Patriotism right there, man.
Saying? Yeah, man. Miami as fuck, bro.
Fuck, I love that. Unfortunately, we don't hear that enough from Miamians, bro. We don't. Everybody's connected to you. Hey, you're from Miami, right? No, you're not. You're New York, but you're born and raised in this motherfucker.
I was raised here, man. I'm from Miami. I've been here for 22 years.
But you go for the Jets.
Yeah. I'm full-blown Jets.
See?
I don't care for football. So that shit.
Oh, that was the best thing that I had to fucking kick him in the nuts. You got to remember, his nuts are super low. So, but I love the loyalty that you have on that Miami tip, man. You know, you don't hear that enough, and so that's a movement that eventually you want to get going. But for the people listening, one, how can they support you? How can they support the movement? I know that the Panamanian murals are not going to come up in a little bit next year. I know there's a lot more behind that. That was very hectic for you.
Right.
What kind of short-term things that do the fans have to look forward to aside from, you know, following you and seeing what you do next?
I mean, I got a couple of projects in the works, man. I don't want to be one of these like, oh, you moving silent type shits. You know what I'm saying? But I'd rather just not speak till the shit like happens. But I definitely have some like big projects in the works. And just paying respect to the city I'm from and just repping the city I'm from all over I go. You know what I'm saying? It's not just because I want to rep the city doesn't mean I plan on. I'm probably forever gonna live here, but it doesn't mean I just want to work here. You got me? But
Of course,
and that's
course.
why my like the pink and teal shit that I do, man. Because like everywhere I go, I want to leave a little bit of the city behind in that spot. You got me? Like, so if I paint some shit in New Orleans, I'm gonna leave some pink and teal there as Miami shit. You know?
So is that a nice little marking that people should know when you see that pink and teal? There's a good chance.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's it's not my shit, but man, it's Miami shit, and I'm trying to push Miami no matter where I go. You know? So yeah, that pink and teal, you could definitely like relate me to that, man, and just I like the contrast and shit, man. I like finding the beauty and like the evil and shit, and just making it like work together. You got me? But yeah, just look forward to a lot more shit because I'm definitely working on it.
If somebody wanted to hit you up and say, "Hey, Disem, I would love for you to do something for me," how can they reach out to you? How can they hit you up? Is it Instagram? Is it a manager? Is it a email?
Easiest way is Instagram at Disem305. That's the best, quickest way, man. Because like I said, I got ADD like a motherfucker, so I'm always on my phone, man. I'll see that shit quick.
Right, right. And have you done any kind of things with any kind of, I mean, I don't want to say artists, but could be musical artists, could be any kind of celebrities. Have you done that on the low and you rather not talk about it, or is that something that you're open to saying?
Nah, yeah, I've worked with like different, man. I'm always down to like collaborate. I know a lot of like artists are like weird about who they work with. Like, man, as long as you're good people, I'm open to working with people. You know, I've done shit like you asked about the B-Raw thing earlier. I was a connect through like my dog Gil Graff. I did an album cover for him, and that's a homie I grew. He used to do graffiti, man. That's my dog. Like we grew up together. So, I've done shit with I did the Trick Daddy mural. Like, what was that? I want to say Art Basel last year.
Man, if you're listening, please, especially if you're from South Florida, look up Disem305 on Instagram and go find out that Trick Daddy mural. For one, not only is it a dope ass mural, but it's a young Trick Daddy, which
Miami.
man, a lot of exactly, and that's what the proof is in the pudding. This man's talking about how he's so loyal to the city. I know, being such a fucking Miami dude, that mural was a young ass Trick Daddy, and just you just would not know it. You might know who Trick Daddy is. Cool, I appreciate that you do, and you're a fan. But if you saw the mural, you will see that it's a young Trick Daddy, and it's just great how he pays homage to that. And again, you've done Roberto Duran.
Yeah.
You've done
dog. Yo, that guy was like one of my favorite. He is my favorite boxer of all time. Man.
To this day, one of the best.
Panamanian, like
yeah.
My Panamanian history. I got, like I said, I got Miami. I got Panama tattooed on me too. But yo, the love I got from that guy, like the moment I did it, man, and to me is like, yo, that's the best fighter of all time to me. You know what I'm saying?
That's dope.
And to get such love back from like a legend to me was fucking beautiful. You know what I mean? Like that, like we haven't met in person, unfortunately, because of, like, my schedule was so crazy while I was out there. And, I mean, that guy's a fucking legend, so his schedule was insane. But, yo, the next day I did that shit, that guy was hitting me up. And he was like, so, what do you know? I fucking love this, blah, blah, blah. Like, yo, beautiful, dog. That shit was ill, man. So, yeah, man, I'm trying to do a lot more shit. There's a lot of more, like, Miami people I'm trying to, like, pay respect to. And just larger people. I got a couple of projects in the work. Like I got some shit in New Orleans that I'm working on. That hopefully that shit goes through. The way I look at it, man, there's a lot of people that have inspired me that kind of come from the same place that I come from. That goes back to Andrew Gillum shit that we had talked about. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people that have like grown up with the same life situations that I don't know if you guys can relate to, but coming up from like an immigrant family,
Of course.
not necessarily being like lower class but not being upper class either, you know what I'm saying? Like just busting our asses to get what we got. And those are the kind of people, man, that I admire, and I feel like we should put a magnifying glass on these people because they're fucking great, just members of society, and they don't get the attention they should necessarily get.
The recognition.
Right, the recognition, yeah, man. And I wanna do that for these people, so that like the younger homies that like grow up seeing this shit could be like, you know what, like if these people could build what they built the way they did it under our same circumstances, we could do the same shit. And that's definitely forever gonna be part of my shit, like paying attention to those people.
Is that something that you would, you know, I would love to say that I wish I had a bunch of artists listening to our show in due time. I think you're gonna be one of the you're gonna be one of the gatekeepers. You know, you opened it up for those who will follow, fans and artists alike. But for those who would eventually listen to this, what kind of suggestions, what kind of advice? And I know you're not like that type of dude to be like, hey man, you know, I think you're more so like, hey, everybody's life is different, and wherever it takes you, you know, ride the wave and blah blah blah. But what kind of advice would you give to those people who are paying attention right now, especially the artists, you know, who kind of want some influence? They don't have to be graffiti artists. They might be. They don't have to be fine artists. They might be whatever it is.
Creatives.
Yeah, creatives. What do you tell those type of people? Especially for you to be saying creatives. I'm going to start saying creatives from here on out. Like creatives. I don't even want to say artists. Creatives. I like that.
Just work. That's it. Work. You know what I'm saying? I think you if you don't work, you're not gonna accomplish shit. And if you come up with excuses, you're never gonna work. You know what I'm saying? It's just work. That's it. To me, is as long as you work, you keep yourself busy and you create. Yo, it's same shit we said earlier, man. Opportunity means preparation means opportunity. That's it, man. Like once preparation meets opportunity, that's a golden moment, and that's you gotta open that door, run through it. But you're never gonna be prepared if you don't work. You get me? That's it.
Put in the work, and everything else will fall in place. I like that. It's very 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 common grounds for just about any kind of specialty or goal.
I don't think it's hard, bro. I think it's real fucking simple. Same as like those words, like just fucking work. Once you work, you gonna get it.
And even if it's not the best work, if you put in not the best work, you're gonna find out that that's not your best work, and you're gonna fix it. You're gonna adapt, you know. But if you don't, I think for you and I, Gus, it falls more on the as a coach for mixed martial arts and even personal training, but more so mixed martial arts. Put in the repetition. The repetition is the work.
Right.
I can't tell if you got a good jab, a lazy jab, a strong jab, if you don't give me 1,000 jabs.
Well, applying it to what you guys do, like, are you gonna take your time on training somebody that hasn't put in the work? Probably not. You got what I'm saying? Like,
okay.
So if a guy comes up to you and you could tell he's been working, you're gonna be like, I gotta. You're gonna get a different type of respect for this man. You know what I'm saying? So once you put in the work, man, people start acknowledging the work, and you'll be surrounded by the people that should be surrounding you. You got me? But if you just stay waiting for the right people and waiting for the shit without doing shit, nothing's gonna happen.
I like that because I think it kind of falls in the same neighborhood of if you hang around shit. This is one of my favorite lines. In case anybody wants to quote me on it, if you hang around shit, you're bound to attract flies.
True.
So if you hang around people who are, you know, go-getters, putting in that effort, business people, even if it's not your business, even if you don't go as hard as they do, whatever it might be, if you're surrounded by these good influences, these positive people, shit's bound to turn around for you if you adapt and apply what it is that they teach you. And I don't think that many artists say something like that. But then again, I don't know. You know, this is why I love the fact that you're here, dog. That, you know, you're exposing us to that different aspect of what our viewers and our future viewers and our subscribers would be used to. And you definitely opened me up. You know, I think that Gus, you know, by all means as well.
Big time.
Can't speak for him, but I know he agrees with that, man. And again, so listen, anybody listening right now, if you want to follow Disem, you got to go to DISEM 305. I love that shit because it's just right next door to myself. And before we get to my handle or Gus's handle, go follow this dude, man. He's got amazing work, amazing artistry. I'm not an artist. I don't know how to categorize it, but I know this guy's got like 3, 4 different 5 styles. That's fucking phenomenal. He keeps doing what he does. And the best part about it is not once have we talked about anything monetary. Not once have we said, hey, if you want to buy this, if you want to buy that. This dude is like straight from the heart. Like he does what he loves. By all means, there's a certain price for a certain amount of, of work and effort that you put into something. But that's the business aspect of it. We haven't spoken any kind of business. This man's heart's in the right place in regards to expressing himself, standing up for his people, the Latin race, the Panamanian connections, and how he's trying to, kind of combine the hoods and the upper class people by art, and by art meaning by expression, by love, by peace, by all that. And it's been a fucking amazing honor to have this man on. I appreciate it so much, dog. Like I really do. You have no idea, dude. I appreciate it. Guys, go follow him. Disem 305, Disem 305. I know he's got so many things coming up. You want to get on board now before this man ignores all your fucking DMs. He's not in his head like, no, not me.
I like that.
Check out the Instagram and also check out his website at disemart.com.
Serious. Great fucking work of art there. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Again, follow us on Black Sheep 305. That's my handle on Instagram. You got Gus Villamil, GusVillamil on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube, guys. We're finally up and running. We got a lot of shit popping up on YouTube. If you're into watching the videos, go ahead, Bubba.
Dog, Panama Mural Fest on IG at Panama Mural Fest. And can I give a birthday shout out to my dog?
Man, you can get more than that, dude. You can get what the fuck you want. I love it.
Birthday shout out my dog Porno, man. His birthday today. I got
Of
my
all names,
dog.
Porno. Did this guy just do that? I love it. I love that he did. That's his literally, like, is that his nickname or is that his fucking IG name?
I've gotten into trouble for writing that shit too, man.
Spelled just like that, Porno?
Yeah, that's my dog. Though.
Tell me this man is fucking bitches left and right.
I don't know about no more. I know now he's stuck on one, but who knows about
Happy birthday to Porno. I hope your dick don't fall off, bro. I hope you made it this far and everything's good. I think it's dope that your boys over here giving you a shout out for your birthday, man. Hey, G, thank you for coming on board, man. I hope everybody out there listening goes and follows this guy. And then stay in tune, dude. I love artists. Guys, if you're listening, man, and you're an artist, if you got some type of artistic standpoint, perspective in life, man, I want to hear about it. The viewers want to hear about it. I'm so glad that we had this man be the first one to pop the Black Sheep perspective cherry in regards to this art world, man. I feel like I'm such a fucking dumbass. There's so many levels to this shit, and I want to learn all about it, dude. Straight up, man. Awesome. Hey, thank you, brother. Gus, tell people something before we cut out of here, man.
January 25th.
Ow, Puerto Rico.
I'm taking next.
I can't wait, man. And fucking, and it's gonna be a blessing if Elvin gets to fight on the same card, man. So everybody listening, get ready for that fight. I hope we can do something where Disem comes over there and maybe fucking spray paints on something, the opponent's fucking forehead, whatever, dog.
Wait, dog, you let me know, man. Let's make that shit happen.
Yo, everybody out there, man, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned in. Keep following us. Spread the word, man. This is just the beginning. Love, peace, man, and everybody take care. Thank you.
Deuces.
Fire! My brother, I love
Like I
it.
said, I hate these things, bro.
What? Nigga, you killed it. This guy's a fucking natural. He taught, he just played it down. I feel like I fucked up way more than he did, dude. This man was so natural, man.